Well, I'm coming back from a week's vacation. Some people on social asked me, did I actually take off the week? And the answer is yes. But with Irma basically making landfall, obviously I was pretty busy trying to continue to update just because obviously the interest was very, very high when you have a major tropical system like that making landfall. So I was off for a few days, but like I said, kind of worked from where I was giving social media updates. So a lot of people have asked me, and I'll address, asked if I was going to chase Irma. And I can tell you guys that if I had to tell you, we were probably this close to chasing Irma. In the end, the reason that we didn't chase Hurricane Irma was, you know, regionally what happens is a lot of our area has a really, really high interest when it comes to the Emerald Coast, including areas like Destin, like Pensacola, Orange Beach, and you know, it is easier for our area to identify with those because a lot of us go on vacation there. Since we were talking southwestern Florida, it was also somewhat of a logistical issue because I was actually on vacation last week visiting family, and to get from where I was I was in Massachusetts, I was in New York for a little while. It was going to be a really difficult one because I couldn't organize the storm chase because I wasn't here in Kentucky to help work with the team organizing. So anyways, we were close. We really, really thought long and hard about it, but in the end, chose not to chase it. I will tell you guys that, you know, I feel fairly confident that you'll see me in a hurricane within the next year. I feel like that's probably a thing that you will get to do. I know that a lot of my Facebook video, my friends on here, would probably be interested in seeing what it's like to have me down in a hurricane, and that's probably going to happen in the next year or so. I apologize, by the way, for the misspelling of live video. It looks like I wrote love video. I mean, that just was purposely done. I mean, you guys know I purposely did that just so that you guys would love the video. I'm going to go ahead and fix that typo real quick so that I don't, everybody doesn't see my misspelling on there, but now it's corrected to Facebook live video. Just a reminder, guys, before we jump into the discussion, if you guys are new on my Facebook page, first off, I appreciate it. If you guys are regulars here, I always appreciate you guys joining me on Facebook Live. Like I said, I've been gone a week, so haven't had a chance to do the Facebook videos, but like I said, back here tonight, felt like it was important to get a video in because we just haven't done one in a while. I would ask you guys, we're riding a streak of 103 consecutive nights above 1,000 shares. I would like to make that 104 tonight. To get to 100 shares, basically everybody in here needs to share it 3 times. If everybody shares it 3 times, it's an easy 1,000 shares, and we will not need to discuss. But let me quickly share this. I'm going to give you guys 2 shares to add to the number, and then we'll come back and we'll jump into our video. I also want to address quickly before we jump in. So, thumbs up. Did anybody see video of Bahamas emptying? Did anybody see videos of Tampa Bay emptying? I got a lot of people that sent me messages asking what caused this. So I'm getting a lot of thumbs up. The reason that the bays empty, there's actually a phenomena that causes this. So everybody knows what a storm surge is. So what a storm surge is when the water comes up. So you can have a storm surge like in Katrina of over 30 feet, 31.5 feet, which remains the record in the United States. That, everybody knows what a surge is. The water comes up. There is something called a reverse storm surge. And that is what you saw in Tampa, parts of the Keys. We saw it in the Bahamas. So what causes a reverse storm surge? It is the exact same thing that causes a storm surge. So a storm surge, think about it like this. If the winds are pushing against the ocean, they will pile the ocean upward into a bay, into a coastland, anywhere. If the wind is blowing away from the shore and it's blowing super hard, it will blow the water out to sea. So unlike a tsunami, which basically a wave has been created as it nears the coast it will pull the water out so that it can fuel the wave. Basically, the water is getting sucked out as the volume rises. It is very different with a reverse surge. It's not getting sucked out. It is literally being blown out by the winds. So if you have, 75-mile-an-hour winds that are blowing the ocean out to sea, then you will get a reverse storm surge, which is what happens. So the phenomena is real. There was questions in the beginning about whether the images were real or not. They were real. So very unique phenomena. In the early era, or in the current era where we have so much social media and everybody's got a camera on their phone, you see this stuff a whole lot more. But it is real. It's very much real. All right, let's jump into our discussion tonight, guys. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, share it so that at the end, I don't need to be reminding you, but let's discuss Irma impacts in our area. So we've got rain actually that's falling right now in the southern part of our area. Obvious question is this rain in Campbellsville and Greensburg and Columbia from Irma? It's a good question. Let's take you to the wider perspective. What you notice is the rain is actually indeed coming from the south. And you can see that this is the circulation of Irma. So the center of circulation right now is in the south central parts of Georgia. What you can see the latest on Irma is that the winds are 45 mile per hour sustained. Per the National Hurricane Center, these winds are gusting to 65. The pressure is slowly rising at 986 millibars, and Irma is moving at the north-northwest at 16 miles an hour. So if you look at that motion towards the north-northwest, that moves it west of Nashville, and you would think ultimately it's going to move in our direction. And by thinking that, I can tell you guys that the logic is there. An interesting one as you look at Irma, as you can see, the southern part of the storm basically doesn't exist. And what happened here? It basically wrapped dry air around it, and I'm actually going to show you what we call the water vapor imagery. And what you'll notice here on the water vapor imagery is I will tell you guys where you have the whites to the light blues, you have a lot of moisture on the northern part of the storm. And this is some of the reason that the southern part of the storm never materialized. What you can see is dry air all the way from Texas into the Gulf of Mexico, and it all wrapped around the southern part of the storm. And in that occurrence, it basically dried out the southern part of the storm and never allowed it to materialize. So, good thing is if that southern part had stayed intact, we would have seen considerably more rain. That said, there was obviously still a lot, and it caused real headaches and major flooding. As mentioned, 45 mile an hour sustained winds on Irma. Where does she go? You can see, I apologize, the latest showing Irma going towards Memphis, making the turn and moving in our direction. So as you look at this, what you're probably thinking is, Mark, why does the track all of a sudden stop? And it's because Irma degrades into a regular low pressure. It is nothing special. It doesn't move across our area as a tropical storm, a tropical depression. It moves across our area like every low that moves across our area. So how much rain is this thing going to produce? Well, let's take a look at the data. When you look at the NAM computer model, which tends to be better at dealing with potential higher rain totals, you notice that you look off to the south and you see solid rain, in particular as you look towards Frankfort, E-Town, through Campbellsville, where areas could pop over an inch. And you can see along and north of the river, you're talking about a half an inch to an inch of rain. Is this a major deal? Is this Harvey for our area? No. Harvey produced 4 to 5 inches across parts of our area, and it produced up to 8 in some parts. So this is not showing up in the NAM computer model as something like what Harvey did here. Let's look at the GFS computer model. The GFS also shows this signal for along and north of the river around a half an inch. It's showing that totals peak in the areas like Frankfort, Campbellsville, Columbia, Greensburg, Springfield, at around an inch to an inch and a half of rain. And as we look at the European computer model, we notice a very similar trend. Along and north of the river, around a half an inch of rain. It shows around 3/4 near the Louisville area. And then as you go further off to the south, you see around an inch to an inch and a half, which includes areas like Bowling Green, London, Campbellsville, Munfordville, Litchfield, Springfield, and then through around the Columbia area at around an inch of rain. So we don't see that signal within this data that indicates anything like what Harvey produced in rainfall for our area, which is really, really important. We don't see any signal of that whatsoever. So let's finally look at the WPC rainfall totals for our area. WPC is basically a branch off the National Weather Service. And you can see that they kind of have this similar scenario where you have higher rain totals over Tennessee, northern Alabama, Mississippi, northern Georgia, and then you see the really tall totals as you go towards the Carolinas. And I'll take you within our area so you can see a little bit more of a zoom and get a sense. And they're following that trend of southern Indiana getting a little bit less, showing around a ½ inch. They're going a little more bullish for the Louisville area, showing 1.25, about 1.25 inches. And they're showing the southern part of our area right around 1.5 inches of rain. You know, I got to tell you overall, I think a lot of people know, I think a lot of people after Harvey learned a lot for our particular area. And the reason I mention that is parts of Louisville went over 5 inches of rain. And truth be told is we didn't flood. You know, so I think people learned that just because you get a solid rainfall total doesn't guarantee that you're going to see flooding within our area. Second part is, I think people learned out of Harvey that just because a remnant of a tropical system is moving across our area doesn't mean that you're going to see Ike-like winds. Remember, Ike tracked north of our area, putting us distinctly in the warm sector. Irma goes west and then tracks right across our area. So what this means is that when you get in the southern part of a storm, you can, if you catch sun, mix the stronger winds down to the surface. We don't have that scenario with Irma. So if you're worried about those very, very strong winds, I will tell you that there is a signal for some stronger winds tonight. Nothing that would be tropical storm force, nothing that would be tropical depression. I think we could see wind gusts of maybe 35 miles an hour late tonight, early tomorrow. Outside of that, I don't see a signal within Irma that concerns me at all for a major wind event. I don't see anything that shows that. And I honestly think rainfall amounts are going to be much more subdued versus what we saw when Harvey, the remnants, moved across the area. So that's the bottom line here, guys, is you know, Irma's going to have an impact on you. And I'm going to go through the timeline specifically on when the rainfall occurs within our area, when to expect the heaviest on WDRB News at 10. But I wanted to specifically address some of the impacts that Irma brings to our area, A, from wind, and B, from the rainfall amount. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions. I know people are probably going to ask about Jose. I'll address that quickly on the Jose one first, but let me remind you guys our share goal tonight is to get to 1,000. We're sitting at 200. We've got about 15 minutes left in the video, which is going to be your Q&A time. I know there's a lot of questions. So what I would ask is, if you guys haven't shared the video, share it. I need basically 2 to 3 shares from everybody in here. We'll easily get up over 1,000 for the, let's see, tonight will be 104th night in a row. So before I jump into Q&A, Jose, where's Jose going? I'm going to tell you that Jose is going to be used to scare you. And if somebody starts to tell you where Jose is going, I need you to turn on your light and I need you to think, you know what? This person is using Jose to scare me and they're using it to garner ratings. Jose, 5 days from now, will be almost in the same area. Does some of the computer models take it into the U.S.? Yes. Do some of the computer models take it off to the east and never bother the U.S.? Absolutely. So you're wondering, if there's no conclusive evidence where Jose is going, then why would somebody show a computer model that took it into the eastern part of the U.S.? And the answer is, you know exactly why. Because they're trying to scare you into liking their page. They're trying to scare you into clicking share. It's called scare tactics and scare bait, and it's dirty. It really is. And when people use, after we have had 2 major hurricanes make landfall in the U.S., they use a tropical system to get your attention and to use it to garner ratings. It's dirty. It really is. I think everybody knows that if you were to say where Irma was going 10 days into the future, you're probably saying, Mark, we couldn't say 3 days into the future exactly where Irma was going. Exactly. So how, if we don't know where Irma is going 3 days into the future, how do we know where Jose is going 10 days into the future? Exactly. So let's move on from that because it irritates me to no end. I don't like when people use your emotions against you and scare you just to get shares. I just don't like it. It bothers me to no end. So, you know what I will tell you guys? The people in my business sometimes move from catastrophe to catastrophe. They use some of that stuff to garner ratings. They can get higher ratings, and they can sell those ratings for more dollars, and it's messed up. It's messed up to use something to scare you, to make money. That's just not what our business is supposed to be about. So, anyways, questions. I know there's going to be a lot of them. Let's open it up to questions tonight. Share goal tonight is to get to 1,000. We've got 500 people in here. Everybody shares it 2-3 times. We're easily up over the goal. After you share it more than 3 times, let me know down below so I can give you a shout out. Amanda with 6 shares. Thank you, Amanda. Judy's saying thank you. You're welcome. Chris is saying it's pathetic, honestly. Chris, it is. You know, and it really bothers me when people do that stuff. Somebody showed me somebody that posted a track of Hurricane Jose going into New York City. And if you ask me, did it happen? Yeah, the computer model did show that. The computer models also showed 10 days into the future Irma not bothering the U.S. at all. And we also know that that didn't happen. And I will tell you, when your agenda is to scare people and to find sensationalism, it's easy. Because you can cherry pick the computer models to find the worst case scenario. When your goal is accuracy, it's a whole lot harder, and the standard is substantially higher. So 2 shares from Will. Thank you, Will. Andrew's asking the method we use to name tropical systems. Good question. We choose names about 5 years into the future. The National Hurricane Center chooses those names after a name has been, after a storm name has killed people, they retire the storm name. So you will never have another Irma. Irma will be retired. It will never be used again. Mo's saying that I'm the best. I tell the truth. I appreciate that. You know, what I've tried to do within our area is build a reputation of accuracy and being trustworthy. I don't want to be that guy. You know, even if it gets more ratings for the station, I don't want to be that guy. What I want to be known for is the person that you can turn to when you need reliable, trustworthy info. Matt is saying, do I think hurricanes are, in the last 100 years, are any worse or any stronger? You know, I think you can look back through history and you can see a lot of nasty storms. You know, one that immediately jumps out is the 1935 Keys storm. So if you think Irma was bad, when the Irma hit the U.S., it had a pressure of about 930 millibars. The 1935 hurricane had a pressure of 892. It is the only time in the United States that a pressure in the 800 millibar range has ever been measured. There are nasty hurricanes throughout the course of history. If you're going to ask me, would warmer waters allow for higher intensity of hurricanes? You know, that philosophy works, but it doesn't work on all storms. Jose was in a very, very, very warm body of ocean and just collapsed. So it shows you that it's not only about warm water. There's a lot more that goes into allowing storms to get strong. Somebody looks like somebody in here is being a troll. I'll come back after and take a look. Joyce said sharing a lot. Thank you, Joyce. Sharon's saying I messed up and said Irma wouldn't hit us. So you are obviously not telling the truth. That is a blatant lie. Did I say that Irma wasn't going to get into our area? Never. Did I say, am I saying that Irma is not going to come in here as a hurricane? Absolutely. Am I saying Irma is not going to come in here as a tropical storm? Absolutely. I would just encourage you to not spread lies about me. If you do, I'm going to ask you to go somewhere else. So, fortunately, I can ban you during the video. So, you can test us. Our group in here knows that we're not allowing negativity and just people that are here to troll. We just don't do it. Two weeks ago, I have a recording saying that. So, Sharon, you think I forecasted where Irma was going 2 weeks into the future? Yes. I forecasted Irma 2 weeks into the future? I think we all know that I admit that we can't forecast accurately beyond 7 days. So I'm going to forecast a tropical system 14 days into the future. Okay. Caleb's saying highly respected in my book. I appreciate that, Caleb. By the way, let me update you guys on where we are on our shares. We are only at 300, so guys, we got 10 minutes in the video. I don't want tonight to be the night we don't make it to 1,000 shares. It would be the first night we haven't in 103 nights. Let's not fall short. Let's get over 1,000 shares for the 104th night in a row. I need everybody to share the video. Now is the time where you guys step on the gas and share away so that we can get our numbers up over 1,000. We've worked hard for over 100 days. Bobby's saying, don't waste my time on her. Don't worry, I'm done. Chris with 7 shares. Thank you, Chris. Good seeing you, by the way. Rob's saying, ban her, please. It is funny. You know, the thing that I think we have seen over the years is our Facebook group is all really a group that just doesn't want the rude negativity in here. We just kind of, you know what, the internet just brings out the worst in so many people. It's just somewhat disturbing, but Chris is saying we're going to make it to the share goal. Chris, it's time to work on it. Courtney's asking if tornadoes are a possibility. Honestly, my feeling is we're not going to see severe weather, anything organized from Irma, the remnants of Irma. And I can tell you that we're on the northern side of the storm, and it just really doesn't support much. I can't say it's impossible to see a severe weather report, but I can tell you it's going to be somewhat of a stretch. 25 shares from Melissa, thank you. 3 shares from Lance, thank you. Bill saying try being out to sea during a hurricane. Bill, I honestly can't even imagine. As a storm chaser, the last place that I would want to be during a tropical system is in the ocean. It'd be brutal. I can only imagine. And Judy is asking if there could be a possible spin-up when Irma moves across the area. I can't say it's 0, but I can tell you that the wind energy is not very highly supportive. I would say it's very low. Chris is saying he's trying to get us there. I appreciate it. To our share goal, by the way. 1,000's the goal, guys. Let me update you on where we stand. Jessica saying, does Jose look like it'll miss the mainland? So I can tell you within the next 5 days, Jose is going to meander. So a couple things going against it. Jose has very strong northerly shear. It's caused it to weaken very quickly. That's not going to abate for the next 3 days. Secondly, Jose is sitting there and upwelling the ocean. What that means is the warm layer of ocean that's on the top will get dispersed and it won't be as warm. That said, beyond 5 days, is that a possibility? It's not off the table. But I think you guys know after Irma that we can't forecast tropical systems with any degree of accuracy 7 days into the future. So we'll watch it, but I don't think there's anything that should sound the alarms at this point. 5 shares from Steve. Thank you. 3 shares from David. Thank you, David. I'm going to update you guys on the shares. We've got 7 minutes left on the video. This is where you guys step on the gas. Amy with 40 shares. Thank you. We're sitting at 500, guys. We are halfway there. We've got 7 minutes left in the video. There are 431 people in here. There's no reason we don't make it to 1,000 shares tonight. An easy one. But we got 7 minutes left, so you guys need to step on the gas and share. Remember, if you share it more than once, it does indeed count towards the total. Josh said Hurricane Sharon's trolling. Rebecca's saying that she watched TV this weekend and no amount makes it worth risking your life. I can tell you guys, I've chased 10 hurricanes in my career, and I can tell you that if you do it right, you can minimize any danger to your body. I didn't see any irresponsible chase behavior, in my opinion, from what I saw. I thought the people were experienced, actually, and did a pretty good job, to be honest. You know, I think that, you know, I'm not going to bash others just because they're not on my station. I think we saw a lot of responsible storm chasing this weekend, to be honest. Judy's asking if Hardinsburg is going to get any of this rain from the tropical system. Yeah, absolutely. Share from Lynn, thank you. And Tina's asking about the weekend. Tina, I'm going to go into a lot weekend related. I will tell you guys that I have every plans on being out of Clemson versus Louisville. I am so excited. I am so excited. You know, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what we've got. I really can't. It's another opportunity to showcase our city on national TV, College Game Day. It's awesome for us, and I'm really, really, really excited. 25 shares from Rachel. Thank you. 20 shares from Bessie. Thank you, Bessie. Update you guys on the shares. We've got 5 minutes left. It is now real crunch time. 700 shares, 300 more, and we're there. We've got 400 people in here. If everybody throws me an additional share, we got it. Stephanie asked the question I mentioned earlier. Where did the water go in Tampa Bay? So, let's say this is your body of water. Let's say the wind is blowing this way into the land. The water piles up. We call that a storm surge. We all know what a storm surge is. It's when the water comes up, floods inland. Well, did you know that there's something called a reverse storm surge? When the wind is blowing the other direction, it literally blows the water out to sea. So it's not accurate to say that it sucked the water out, because nothing's actually sucking it out. It is accurate to say that it is blowing the water out to sea. So the term, when you see a bay emptying before a surge comes in, or on the northern part of a storm, it is called reverse storm surge. Happens actually in a lot of hurricanes. You don't get a lot of video or pictures because it's dangerous. That said, we got a lot from this one. 20 shares from Michelle, 10 shares from Brian. Thank you, Brian. Somebody saying they were glad that the intensity came down. I was too, honestly. Bobby with 50 shares, thank you. Riley has 5 more shares, thank you. Somebody asked if this is a Roku remote. This is a weather clicker. This is our weather clicker, and we've even got a little sticker on it to show which is the weather clicker and which is our traffic clicker. That's actually how we control the graphics. You can see behind me, watch, I'll show you guys. So if you ever see when we're doing weather, we always have this guy in our hand. That's how we're able to make the graphics change and follow our lead. Jamie's saying family in Fort Myer, and they're all good, no electric, but alive and safe. You know, I think everybody would say the same thing within our area. We've got an area that is very, very caring and understands natural disasters. And I can tell you guys that I probably speak for everybody when I say that, you know, anybody that has friends, relatives that are suffering a loss from Harvey or from Irma, we're thinking about you guys and we're praying for you. We've got an area that it has a real heart for other people, and we're thinking about you. So, you know, I know there's a lot of people that have friends, family that have been in the path or affected by Irma or Harvey, and just know that we're thinking about you. So, you know, I've seen a lot of tragedy and hurricanes in my course of my career. It's heartbreaking. You know, the one thing that I find from tragedy that occurs is we see the true heart of people coming out. You know, we've got a lot of fighting right now. We have a lot of people that are arguing. Politics have been very divisive over the last, you know, year. But I think, you know, we're reminded during these difficult events of the humanity and the good that's in people. And, you know, I wish that it didn't take tragedy like this to bring out the best. But sometimes it takes stuff like this to remind us. And, you know, we're all part of the same team. We really are. And, you know, it is very encouraging to me to see so much good that comes out of difficult situations like this. It really is. I hate seeing it happen. I hate it. But I love seeing the heart, the real heart of people coming forward. So, you know, that is always a touching thing for me to see. Jeffrey with 20 shares. Thank you. I appreciate that. Keith saying family in Miami without power, but they're fine. We love hearing that. Teresa with 10 shares. Caitlin's asking how bad it got in Florida. Flooding was bad. Marco Island probably took one of the harder hits, as did Naples. We got reports measured 142 mile an hour wind gusts, and it was bad. You know, could it have been worse? Yes. Was this Andrew? No. But it was bad. We're at 927 shares, guys. I'm going to take the video to 902. So what you guys have is 3 minutes left to get us over 1,000 shares. I need you guys to really be proactive and not think the other person's going to be sharing. Do it yourself. Let's get ourselves over 1,000 shares for the 104th night in a row. We don't want to start over again. I know I don't. I know you guys don't want to. Florida got pounded. Yeah, Josh, you're right. Florida got hit hard. Wind, what's left with Irma? Irma's got about 50 mile an hour sustained-ish, but that is only confined to a very, very small area. My feeling is most aren't seeing over 45 mile an hour winds. Caleb asking, why did people say Category 6? Caleb, sensationalism is the answer. If your goal is to be sensational, think about it. There's never been a Category 6 in history because they don't exist. So now if you want to be sensational, let's say we've got the first Category 6 of all time in history. In mankind, there's never been a Category 6. Of course there hasn't. There's no such thing. The Category 5 encompasses the most violent of the violent. It's like an EF5 tornado. EF5s are the top. There's nothing worse than catastrophic damage. It is total, it is complete, and it is the worst. How can it be worse than the worst? It can't. So if you're calling something an EF6 or Category 6, it's just to scare people and to get action. That's it. 10 more shares from Clovetta, thank you. Rachel with 20 shares. Thank you, Rachel. 22 shares from Alex. Thanks, Alex. I'm going to update you guys on the shares. We've got a minute and a half, 90 seconds left on the video. Now is the time to really step on the shares so we can make it over our goal. 104 is the goal tonight. Francis is asking if we're getting a lot of rain. I think we're going to get solid rain. I don't think it's going to compare to what the remnants of Harvey produced. Bobby with another 20. Thank you. Great question. Dave asked the difference between typhoons, cyclones, and tornadoes. Let me come up with here's an easy way to understand. A tornado, let's just say, is the size of a pencil, okay? Relatively speaking. A hurricane, if you're talking about a tornado being the size of a pencil, then a hurricane would be 500 times larger. So even the worst tornado is a mile wide. Hurricanes, many times over 500 miles. So hurricanes are mammoth with comparison or in comparison to tornadoes. Tornadoes are just much smaller. The processes that create tornadoes are vastly different. Cheryl's asking, why do I like a lot of shares? The answer is that my job as a communicator is to reach as many people as possible. It's simple. That's what I do for a living. And you guys, by sharing the video, simply help me to accomplish my job. So we kind of partner in our Facebook Live videos on a nightly basis to try to get things out there and get our information to as many people as possible. And I simply put, can't do it without you guys. We've got 9:02 now. Let me update you on the shares. Our goal, 1,104 nights in a row above 1,000 shares. Just think about that for a second. You guys have helped me get over 1,000 shares for 104 nights in a row. That's since January. I love that we can partner on a nightly basis to do this and to reach as many people, and you guys are awesome. Thumbs up, hearts to you guys. You made it up over 1,000 again. Let me quickly tell you guys what I'm going to be discussing on WDRB News at 10. I think the rain's going to start tonight from the remnants of Irma. Heading out to work tomorrow morning, kids heading to school. Let me tell you guys when the rain's going to be moving in and how it's going to affect your morning commute on WDRB News at 10 o'clock. 10:22, we talked about rain totals. I'm going to look at the new data, give you an update on when I think rain moves or amounts of rain that are in our area on WDRB News at 10:22. And then anybody have plans for the weekend? Anybody have plans for the weekend? Anybody heading out to maybe a football game at Papa John's Cardinal Stadium? So how about this, guys? I think upper 80s are in the forecast. Upper 80s are in the forecast. Summer isn't over yet. When to expect the much warmer in our area on WDRB News at 10:37. Remember, guys, set your clocks so that you guys can do whatever you need to do and tune in on WDRB News at 10, 10:22, and 10:37. I always appreciate you guys supporting me on Facebook, and remember to support me on TV. That's basically how I have a job. I'm going to rest my voice for a little while. You guys are awesome. 104 nights in a row above 1,000 shares. Remember, you can continue to like, love, and share the video even after it ends. And I'm going to rest my voice, and I'll see you guys on WDRB News at 10.